Okay, so we've been learning in the last few weeks a lot of preparing to daven. Where can you daven in a clean area? Bad smells you have, and today we're going to learn about places, the best place for davening. Which obviously, the best place for davening is in shul, right? We should daven in a shul. We also see that. But let's say you can't go to shul, you're standing outside of the shul, you're in the field. How should the shul look like? Should the shul have windows? Should the shul have windows? Good evening. How are you, Erev Tov? So the topic today is Siman Tzadi, chapter 90 in Shulchan Aruch. What is the appropriate place to daven, and to daven with the minyan, of the community, and someone who's walking on the way. So I'm not sure we'll finish everything today, but at least some of it, and it's quite practical halachot, which we meet sometimes quite often. The first halacha is the person who's davening shouldn't stand on a high place and daven. He should stand on somewhere low and daven, unless he is someone who's ill, or he's an old man and he's on the bed and he can't go down off the bed. Or he's the gabbai or the chazan and he wants to daven loud so everyone can hear. He wants to stand in a high place and daven loud so everyone can hear him. Otherwise, a person shouldn't daven on a high place. There's actually two reasons. One reason is we call Hashem from a low place. And with the idea of all of the siman, or most of the siman, is that our surroundings affect the way we feel and the way we daven. So if one is standing up now on the bima, he feels high, he feels like the king of the world, and he davens like, I'm the king of the world, I'm davening now to Hashem. But if a person is standing low, so he feels like the need to daven to Hashem, he feels the need to raise up his eyes, and raise up my eyes, and daven to Hashem, as you mentioned, mima'amakim kraticha Hashem. So that is one reason. Another reason is that a person standing on a high place might be afraid he will fall. And if he might be afraid he will fall, so he can concentrate on davening. And obviously, not everywhere you're afraid of falling, but if you're standing on a chair or something for some reason, so you might feel you'll be concentrated on how to make sure I don't fall. So these are the two reasons we have for not standing on a high place. And the halachot change a bit based on those two halachot.
So davening was on top of Har Sinai, supposedly Har Sinai, if you know what Har Sinai is, and sun rising, in the morning, and that was very high up.
Yeah, but there you're on the top of the mountain, but compared to your close area, you're on the level of the close area, right? So let's define what is considered high. So considered high is something which is more than 3 tefachim. This is 1 tefach, so more than 3 tefachim. If someone is standing on one step and which isn't so that's fine. Right? So something high is more than 3 tefachim. That already it seems higher than the area. And also, if you fall down from it, so you're a bit more concerned about falling down. You aren't concerned of falling down from 10 centimeters. Okay, so nothing will happen. If it is high, but it is wide, it's more than 4 amot, which is more than 2 meters on 2 meters, or 6 feet on 6 feet. Okay, so it's so wide already, it doesn't seem so higher than the surroundings, and also because you have so much space there, so you aren't concerned of falling, so that's fine. Also, if the area has mechitzot, if it has walls, so if you're standing on the bima, here we have the bima, it's quite large. But let's say you have a smaller bima, and it has walls around it, so also you aren't concerned of falling. And also, it doesn't seem higher than the rest of the area because it stands for itself. So one can daven on the bima. Yom Kippur, for example, you can daven on the bima. If you don't have room in the shul, you can daven on the bima. There's no problem about it. Where might we meet it? Sometimes a person is standing here because there's no room on the Aron Kodesh. Okay, a person, maybe sometimes a rabbi of the shul. In shuls, I think more in the States or out of Israel, you have those stairs leading to the place of the rabbi of the shul. If it's very wide, so maybe it's fine, but shouldn't daven on such a high place. In Memphis, we had a shul, actually two shuls in Memphis that were built like on a slope. Baron Hirsch, a very known shul, and Anshe Sfard, which was now it's closed down. But really, the chazan used to go down, and he used to look at the chazan from top to down. The shul was built on a serious slope, and the chazan used to have Ma'amakim Graticha Hashem. So he feels like going down and calling Hashem from deep under. What was special about Memphis was interesting that the Anshe Sfard shul, I'm not sure how they built it, but they built it in a special way of echoing, that the chazan, the way the voice of the chazan echoed, you could hear it even far away. It was a special way the ceiling was built, so he was Imam Hakim, but everyone could hear him. However, even if the chazan is standing high, in the purpose of everyone else hearing him, that's fine. Okay, so if the chazan wants to stand on the bima, he's standing high, so everyone can hear him, that is fine. There's a halacha here which we won't go into it so much because it's not so relevant for today, but just shows us how our sages were concerned about money or about time. So check the microphone. Okay. So in the past, people used to work from morning to evening, and used to work all the time. Like, stop just a few moments. You see it in the morning, you see it in the evening, and you really used to work all the time. Labor was quite intense. Today we have breaks, and you work 40 hours a week, so it's really different. And our sages said that people who go up to the olive trees to pick fruit, to pick the olives, so they can stay on the olive tree and daven on the tree. See this now going down, then davening, and then going up again. That's already too much time. So our sages said, okay, we won't force people to take all the effort and go down the olive tree. So today people go down, but you can see how our sages were concerned for workers who are obligated to other people, and the time belongs to other people because they're obligated to the work. So they were lenient in different things. Now, think of how today it would be to work. How much is that? 12 hours a day. We will feel like slaves today. 12 hours a day. We'll finish our working day in maybe 3.5 weeks or something. 3.5 days. I mean, we'll finish the whole hours we work a week. That's interesting. Okay, so we won't touch that, just to show the difference between our days and the olden days. We don't build a shul. Usually, we don't take part in building a shul because how often do we build a shul? But the Shulchan Aruch says that the shul should have windows in the side facing Jerusalem. Okay, and it's good that the shul will have 12 windows. Many shuls I go to, and I see that they actually try to make sure the shul has 12 windows, the tribes of Israel, right? So 12 windows. And here we have something interesting. When we daven, so we should have our head facing down. So why do we have windows? Why do you have to have windows in the shul if when you are davening, you aren't supposed to look out of the windows, you're supposed to look down and not look around, maybe even close your eyes. So what's the point of having windows if you aren't supposed to use them? And let's assume that the prayers can go to Hashem also by the walls. They don't need the windows to go out of the shul, right? It's not like it's something abstract.
You need to be able to see the time of day by
So
sunrise.
The time of day, sunrise, sunset. Okay, that's interesting. Although maybe it's sometimes hard to see from the windows. But the reason is that a person should close his eyes or at least look down when he davens. But if now things are starting to come into his mind and he's being bothered by different things, so he can stop his prayer for a few moments, his davening, and look through the windows, look up. And then using the windows to look up for a few moments, maybe even for 1 second, will remind him that he's standing in front of Hashem. So a person who's now bothered by davening can look outside, look at the sky, remember Hashem, and continue davening. The Shulchan Aruch continues that a person should daven in a closed place. In a closed place. I'll read it in Hebrew. לא יתפלל במקום פרוץ כמו בשדה. A person shouldn't daven in an open place like the field, מפני שכשהוא במקום צניעות, when he's a place of צניעות, of modesty, of privacy, חלה עליו אימת מלך וניבו נשבר. He feels more the fear of Hashem and his heart breaks. So when a person goes out, I can smell the fresh smell of the field, his heart widens up, he feels freedom, and when we daven, we want to feel more maybe the oak of Hashem of us, being standing in front of a king. So a person shouldn't daven while he is outside. The Zohar writes a person should daven in a house. Okay, in a house. A person should daven in a house. So if you have an option of davening outside and davening inside, the answer will be daven inside, daven in a house. Here comes the question: if you want to do hitboidedus, you know what hitboidedus is? There's no real translation for hitboidedus, but it means going out to the field and talking to Hashem. Can you do it? Yes, you can do it. Can you daven mincha while going out to the field? And no. If you want to go out to the field and say Tehillim and daven to Hashem, that's nice and great, but not as part of the davening. The davening should be inside. What is it? So we have Vaytzei Yitzchak lasuach basadeh, right? So Yitzchak went out to daven in a field, right? So that's you're mentioning here a true point. Maybe our next halacha will answer that. Okay, so perhaps our next halacha will answer that. You ask a great question. Okay, you ask the question of, it says, Vaytzei Yitzchak lasuach basadeh, Yitzchak davened in the field. And we just now learned that a person should daven in a house and not in the field. Great question. Such a great question that a great rabbi who lived a few hundred years ago, Mahari Abuhav. Okay, Mahari Abuhav asked this question, and Tosfot asked this question. Tosfot lived about 800 years ago, more or less area of France, and they gave two answers. Okay, two answers. One, they say it was Har HaMoriah. Okay, when they say Basadeh, means Har HaMoriah. There's a big connection to Yitzchak and Har HaMoriah. That's where all the story about that Yitzchak was. Okay, so it's Har HaMoriah. So it's not an open field. Maybe there's things happening there. Another answer the Tosfot brings, when it means a field, maybe there was a small hut in the field. Okay, maybe there was a small hut in the field. And the Beit Yosef asks a bit about the second question, about the second answer, but Tosfot asks this question and give two answers. Maybe to answer we can learn the next halacha. Oh, sorry, let's just learn one halacha before, and then we'll learn the next halacha. If you're in the field, okay, if you happen to be in the field, or you're on a trip, it's time for mincha, where do you daven? So the best to daven is between the trees. Why between the trees? Because you don't have a house around you, you don't have walls around you, so at least you have something around you. You'll have the trees around you, which give more of a feeling of a house. Okay, give more of a feeling of a house. So or closed areas, so daven between the trees. So in the beginning, I thought that maybe we can answer your question by Yitzchak went to the field, but who said that the field is an open field? Maybe a field is, at least in the times of the Torah, okay, the fact that today we use a field for something open, maybe the field today in the past is more like a forest or more like a tree or plantation. Okay, so that I thought could be one answer. Another answer could be that the Mishnah Berurah writes. Okay, I read the Mishnah Berurah in Hebrew, and then we'll translate it to English, and then we'll give the answer. I think it's almost written in the Torah, this answer. V'ovrei drachim, people who are walking from place to place, and on those days, how do you commute from Ma'aleh Adumim to Jerusalem? You walk, okay? So you walk, it takes you 2 hours, 1 hour, I'm not sure. you have a walk of a whole day, you have to daven on the way. So where do you daven on the way? You don't have any shul to daven on the way. So where do you daven? In the field. Why in the field? That's where you have to daven. That's what you that. These are all of your options, right? So ovrei drachim, people who are walking from place to place, says the Mishnah Berurah, can daven in the field. Okay, so people who are walking from place to place can daven in the field. What is Yitzchak doing in the story of Yitzchak davening in the field? Do you remember the story there? Let's I'm opening the Psukim. So we have Eliezer and the camels and Rivka on the way coming back, right? They meet Yitzchak when he is davening in the field, right? But what does it say? What is Yitzchak doing? Where did he go? Where is he coming from to the field? Is he coming from his house to the field? If it's coming from his house to the field, we have a question. How could he leave his house or his tent to go to the field? He should daven in a house, right? But let's read just the pasuk beforehand. ויצחק בא מבור באר לחי רועי, והוא יושב בארץ הנגב. So Yitzchak lives in Eretz HaNegev, in the south of Israel, and he's on the way probably to his house from a place called Be'er Lachai Roi. He's walking from place to place. A person who's walking from place to place, where does he daven? In the field. Okay, he leaves the path. Okay, he leaves the path. Okay, Vayitze Yitzchak, he leaves the path from them, so people won't bother him, people won't stop him, people won't disturb him. He leaves the path and goes to the field. Why does he leave the path? And so people won't disturb him. And the person like that, that's the lechatchila, that's what he does. Okay, so I don't know why Tosfot didn't give this answer, but seems like according to the Mishnah Berurah, that will be the best answer I think you can give. It's hard, but it's a great question, but it's Tosfot asked a question, but I think we have a great answer. He is walking from place to place, so you're on a trip, you're walking, so on a hike, leave the path a bit and daven in a place where you won't be disturbed.
What type of halacha is this? Is this good advice, also rabbinic decrees?
It's we have many halachot which Chazal gave us as what we should do. How do we daven in the best way?
So it's more optional.
Yeah, it's this.
I mean,
I wouldn't say it's optional. So it's there's actually a similar question. Maybe we want to go to the question of our Feinstein. We actually a few halachot early. A person who has more kavana when he davens by himself, okay, he can, or with a minyan. Should he daven by himself if he have his mind set for davening, or in a minyan? What should he do? The Rav Moshe Feinstein, the Igros Moshe, writes that a person should daven with a minyan, although he'll be a bit disturbed. Okay, so Moshe Feinstein saw minyan as not an option; it's an obligation to daven in a minyan if you can.
Right, but it sounds different from the minyan.
So if you're davening but outside, so the question is, what when Chazal said we need a kavana, we need to have our mindset for davening. What did they mean by kavana? And that's maybe different than what we think today. Yeah, today we think of more of a meditation, feeling, not sure, mindfulness, right? That's how many people view tefillah. But Chazal viewed tefillah as something else. View yourself as standing in front of a king. Okay, when you stand in front of a king, you might feel a bit nervous. Yeah, I'm standing in front of a king, right? How do you put your hands? So in the times of the past, you used to raise up the hands, davening to Hashem. For some really different reasons, Chazal, when they instituted tefillah, so your hands should be like as if tied up and on your heart, like this, davening in front of Hashem, as a slave, a servant, davening to his master. So there's a difference between tefillah in the Tanakh, when we see Shlomo HaMelech raising up his hands, we see Ezra raising up his hands to Hashem, and the way we daven today. It could be, I'll just wait for the noise a moment. It could be that when the time of prophecy, okay, you felt Hashem more, and you didn't have to do so many actions to feel as if you're standing in front of Hashem. Because you go to the temple, you see the miracles around you, I'm standing in front of Hashem. So you can behave different. But today, when we don't feel the presence of Hashem always, so we have to do things which will cause us to feel feel that we're standing in front of Hashem. And I think that's a big difference between how maybe postmodern or modern ways see it, feel as something which is more mindfulness and meditation and whatever, and Chazal see it as standing in front of a king. When we go back down to Shalom, so we bow to our left, to our right, straight, because we're standing in front of a king, and we are now as if leaving the king, we're going backwards. And so many differences which we see in that. But
You could be down for a king outside.
you don't sit inside of the king, you're sitting inside the palace, in the office, right? But besides that, besides the three tefillot, you can add more davening. You can go to Breslev or other groups who call it Bodedut, going out to the field and talking to Hashem, besides the three davenings. So 3 davenings, we're standing in front of Hashem and instituted. We have a minyan, which hopefully we'll get to today. It's a stand of the korbanot. We are like in the temple. There's no mikdash today. There's no temple. There's no korbanot. So we are now trying to fill in this gap. That's the davenings of the three davening Wende. Kabbalat Shabbat. But then they would go in the city. So Kabbalat Shabbat isn't one of the 3 prayers, right? So if you want to add prayers outside, that's great. But otherwise, you should daven inside. I'm not sure, but since the Zohar writes you should daven in a house, so it sounds a bit. I don't think that the Mekubalim used to daven all of the davenings outside. Kabbalat Shabbat makes sense. That's not a part of the 3 prayers. Okay. We have here. Could there be a case where a person would be davening lechatchila opposite Jerusalem? Yes. If he will back towards Jerusalem. Yeah. So we have here a case. Let's say a person is looking after his kids. They're outside. He can't bring them into shul because they'll make too much noise. And the halacha is if you have kids with you and they'll make too much noise, they will disturb everyone else. You should not bring them into shul. So he has his kids. His wife he's helping his wife to look after the kids, and he doesn't want to bring them into shul. So here in front of the shul we have this the shade and the grass. So he is in the front of the shul. He wants to daven with the community. He has a window open. He can hear the community davening. He wants to daven with them. Which direction does he daven to? If he davens towards Jerusalem, his back is towards the shul, right? So it looks like although he's davening in the same direction as everyone else towards Jerusalem, but his back is facing the shul. Now, a shul has a status of a mikdash me'at. What?
I mean, the entrance to the shul.
The back. He's facing back to the Aron Kodesh. He's standing in front of the Aron. That's the Aron Kodesh, right? Let's show to people here on Zoom. We have the Aron Kodesh here. Okay, and he's on the other side of the Aron Kodesh. Okay? He's outside on the other side of the Aron Kodesh. Okay, so if he davens towards Jerusalem, his back will be facing shul. And there is a part of feeling, I need to be part of the shul. The shul is a mikdash me'at. It's like a small temple, right? So in that very special case, if a person is standing in the front of the shul, outside of the shul, but in the front side of the shul, when he davens, he should face the shul. And we have a special case where a person will be davening the opposite side of Jerusalem. Okay, one more halacha, maybe 2 more halacha before we have to finish. A person should do his best to daven in shul with a minyan. If a person davens by himself, if he can go to shul, even to daven by himself, that's great. If a person is davening at home, he should try to daven at the same time at least of a minyan. So if you know that we have at 8:15, we have a minyan, and the person is at home, he's not feeling well, he's looking after kids or grandkids or whatever, he can't go to shul. So at 8:15, he should daven. Although he's not davening with the minyan, physically with the minyan, but he's davening at the same time of the minyan. So it's as if he is being part of the minyan. These 2 halachot show us the importance of davening first in a shul, second in a minyan. How much it's a mitzvah, maybe sometimes even an obligation to daven with a minyan, or at least as close as we can to daven with a minyan. And one more halacha: when a person is davening with a minyan in shul, he shouldn't start Shmoneh Esrei before the minyan. I see it many times on Rosh Chodesh. A second, maybe that's fine. A very short amount of time, that's fine. But many times on Rosh Chodesh, I see everyone is still busy folding the tefillin on Musaf. The Chazan is still just taking off his tefillin. And you know there'll be at least another 20 seconds until he will start Musaf. And you see already some people who start already to daven Musaf quietly. So they should wait until the Chazan claps on the table, right? And then everyone knows that's the time now to daven. Even if you know you daven slowly, even then you should start with a minyan. The only case where you can start before the minyan, if you look at your watch, you say 1 second, the time of Shachrit is almost over. We have 5 minutes until the time of Shachrit is over. And you can see the shul are busy davening and singing and saying also piyutim, and that's, I don't know, the davening a Karli Bach minyan, or any other reason it's taking them time. Only in that case, you can start before the minyan. Okay, there's a big importance of davening together with the minyan of the group. That's another thing of tefillah, shows it's not just about myself, it's I'm standing in front of a king together with the nation. And that's a very, very basic part of tefillah.